Hey Keith.
Good afternoon.
Hey, what you doing?
I'm cleaning handles for mugs. We extruded these handle shapes out of our extruder, and the edges, when we cut them off, I clean them and then shape them a little bit to get the sharp edges off.
Huh.
So that's what I'm doing. I cleaned them all. We have 21 mugs, and so we have the handles for that. So I'm just going to clean them all. And
Show me what you're doing there.
so we just round the edges off.
All right.
It's fairly simple process, and then we lay them down on a board that they're not going to stick. So this
Okay,
fireboard
so
works.
show me what it looks like first, then.
So this is what it would look like.
No, I mean the edge. What are you
Oh.
getting rid of?
Yeah. So you can see that it's a very sharp edge, and then I just round them off and shape them, and I'll round those off a
Oh.
little bit more, just so it's not unfinished.
I see.
So then after they're cleaned on the edges, then you lay them on a flat board that won't stick, and you get rid of the lines from when you extruded them or
Oh.
touched them.
I see.
Finger marks.
Uh-huh.
Do both sides, let them dry a little bit longer, and then we'll be ready to shape them in a little while. So.
Okay, well, we'll be back and we'll watch you shape them, and then later we'll watch you attach them to
Okay,
your mugs.
sounds good.
Hey Keith,
Hi, how are you?
how far are you along with your mugs?
So we've got a few of them, and welcome back all. We have a few that are already assembled, and I usually will let them dry upside down so the handle will stay the shape that I want it.
Ah, so gravity is kind of
Yes.
helping out there.
What I found was, and you have to be careful with all clay, but I think porcelain especially, that the drying consistency is as close to the mug as the handle, that they're the same. And I'm finding that a few of the mugs are a little drier than the handles. So
So
this
what do you
also
do
helps.
in that case?
I may spritz them a little bit, but really what I'll do is, unless they're really dry, I'll let them dry slowly, cover them up and let them slow dry, and they usually are just fine.
So when you slow dry them, some of the moisture from the handle goes into the body and...
Correct, and that usually will not crack off. So
There we go.
Pull apart, yes. So what we do is, we've, as you can see, we have shaped these tubes that we, they're not tubes actually, handle shapes that we extruded, and so we shape them the way that we want, and so we lay them like this so they stay easier to handle and dry more consistently. So you take the mug, or I take the mug, and I lay it on top here, and you kind of look at the mug too to see if there's one area that you might want to put the handle on that it might be a little different shape, or just it's a fairly quick thing. And then I take a needle tool, and what I usually try to do is have a nice space on the bottom. Also with crystalline, it is important that there's a space because you're going to have a catch tray, and we're going to do some grinding on the bottom, so if the mug is shorter, so you want the handle up far enough. So then I just mark it with a needle tool and mark the handle a little bit there too. Lay the handle back and scratch.
Scratch or score?
Score. Yeah. Mhm.
Same thing.
Yep, same thing. Different terminology.
Yeah, so our friend Martha Grover, she likes to slip first and then score. And there are many times when I'll slip first and then score, and then Keith will do a score.
Yeah, I tend to like to score and then slip and then score again.
Yeah.
I think, especially for the porcelain, it tends not to pull apart as much now. I'm hoping that that's the case, but plenty of slip. And this slip that we're using is a little bit different slip. It's not our regular throwing slip. This is from Martha Grover also. So it's 7 squares of toilet paper, and she said that the cheapest toilet paper the better. 1 cup of white vinegar and 2 cups of bone dry clay, and then you mix it up. It's a pretty thick consistency. I added a little bit of water to it.
Yeah, I try, when we mix it up, it'll kind of thicken over time or dry out. And so I just add more vinegar, and you added a little more water.
Yeah, we keep it covered too because the vinegar is very strong. So
Yeah.
So then you just add, you score the handle where we marked it, and we slip it also. I don't double score it on the handle.
So any trick on when you're attaching them at all?
So
or not?
when I attach it here, you're eyeballing it from above here to see if it's
Let's see here.
fairly straight. because it can be turned. And then you want to make sure that it has a good contact. So you just wiggle it in space and in shape, and also kind of eyeball it again. And then I usually will take a tool. This just happens to be a handle of the of a knife, and run it over. I don't know if you can see. I just try to
So here, let me go on this
trying
side.
to get it to establish a good contact, because that's really where it wants to pull most of the time away.
Right.
And then we can clean up that a little bit afterwards, but then again, it's important to look at it to straighten it out again, so it looks
Okay.
pretty good.
So can I say something?
Yes.
The reason we use a round tool like a dowel rod,
Yeah,
or in this
we usually
case
have a dowel
the
rod.
end of a fettling knife,
Yep.
is it's really important that that inside part of the handle is nice and clean, nice and round, and that wooden dowel rod or the handle of the fettling knife,
We'll keep it fairly round. Yeah.
because if we push with our finger sometimes we make an indentation.
Right. And also, as it's drying, if the mug is not dry enough to handle, you get oblong shaped mugs, and we've had that from time to time also. So then the bottom, you do the same thing, and if you need to, you can put your hand down in to give it a little more support, and then just wiggle that to make sure, and then one more eyeball. And then the last thing we do is get rid of this extra slip, because you don't want it cracking off.
Right. So what's the problem with the extra slip there?
Well, it'll crack as it's drying, and that's where it will begin the cracking process.
So the slip,
And
because
so
there's more moisture in
there's
the
too much.
slip, it dries more than the
different
handle and the
consistency, right?
I see.
And then it'll pull apart. So that's the handle on there, and you can kind of look at it. I like a more a wide handle. Glenn likes a little bit less, I believe. But so you can kind of see how it's going to fit. You can shape it a little bit if you want. I tend to just leave it be, and then we turn it over and let it dry.
I think that's probably one of the greatest tips there, and I learned that in high school actually, is if you put your handle on, even if it's a pulled handle and it's a little on the wet side, and you put the mug right side up, gravity is just going to
Gonna
pull that handle down, and in this case it's pulling it into the shape. So
Yeah, so it seems to flow better.
yeah,
So
it's a nice
we did bring a couple of mugs out with the different handles. So this is the handle that I just demonstrated today, finished, and we like that it has a little bit of a decorative angle there, and you can see that it's a nice size mug with a nice size handle on it. So I extrude almost all my handles. This is one that Glenn did. And
Wait, what does that say on the front?
says Virtual Tampa Tour de Clay 2020. So this year is a little bit different with the COVID issues going on. So our Tampa Tour de Clay, which is always the second weekend in December, it's our kind of a home studio tour in Florida, will be virtual and in person this year. Well, it'll be in person if we can do that, depending on the COVID situation in December. But what we're planning to do is have a virtual where every artist, guest artist, and a host artist, which I think this year there'll be about 25 artists represented in 3 studios. They will be virtually represented, so you can all shop virtually if you can't make it down to Florida. Which
So
is
it's
pretty exciting this year. So
if they just go to tampatourdeclay.com,
you can find out all the information.
and that in this case it just says Tour de Clay, but it is tampatourdeclay.com, and if you go on there you could just submit your email, and we're going to have a few
Some raffles.
drawings for things, and one of these mugs will be available for that drawing.
We're
So-
trying to get the word out for the virtual tour this year, especially to expand from just our local market. So getting back to the handle,
Oh, sorry.
this is a handle where he made a lug, and then he attached it to the bottom of the mug, and then he pulled it, and then he shaped it. And as you can see, it is similar in shape, but it's a little bit wider, and it's got more of a decorative because you pulled it off the bottom. I
Yes,
think.
and so just to kind of, it's a real subtle difference. But you see this handle, it's got a wide opening at the top, And this handle, I tried to pull this down just a little bit to create more room for the hand. So there's just a little bit of a drop in the handle right there, just to make it more oblong, where you like yours more traditionally just like that real nice ear shape.
Right, yeah.
And they're both nice.
They both seem to handle the
we just have different
hand.
preferences for our mugs.
So these mugs and all our work can be found on potteryboys.com and then also on our Etsy shop. So take a look if you get a chance, and you can find many, many more mugs and all kinds of other work.
Okay, so potteryboys.com.
Yes.
Now, how do you spell that? No, I'm just kidding.
And if you would remember to like and share this video, that would be also helpful. We're trying to get the word out. So.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in.
All right, bye.
Bye.